The animal kingdom doesn't follow our expectations. Sometimes it looks impossible. A jellyfish that can rewind its life, a shrimp that punches with the force of a weapon, a bird that navigates like it has a built-in compass. These aren't myths. They're living animals, shaped by millions of years of evolution into forms that look like they belong on another planet. And once you start noticing how far survival can push a body, you realize something simple. Nature does not care what looks normal. It only keeps what works. An octopus does not circulate blood the way we do, and you can hear that difference in its behavior. 3 hearts keep oxygen moving, 2 hearts send blood through the gills to load up on oxygen, and the 3rd pushes it through the body. That blood is blue because oxygen is carried by hemocyanin, which uses copper instead of iron. Hemocyanin can be useful in cold, low-oxygen water, but it makes intense activity expensive. When an octopus swims hard, the main heart that supplies the body can slow down, which is why many octopuses choose a slower, crawling style along the seabed where oxygen demand stays manageable. A crow watching you from a streetlight is not just staring, it is collecting data. Crows can learn individual human faces and remember which ones were dangerous. In research settings, when a particular face was associated with a threat, crows later reacted to that same face with alarm calls even after long time gaps. The real twist is that the knowledge spreads. Other crows can learn who to avoid by hearing the alarm calls and watching the group response. So the memory becomes social, not just personal. Somewhere out in the open ocean, a dolphin rests without ever fully switching off. Dolphins must surface to breathe. So deep, total sleep would be risky. Many use unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, where one hemisphere of the brain sleeps while the other stays awake enough to control breathing and maintain awareness. Often one eye remains open while the opposite side of the brain is more active. After a while, they switch sides. It is rest-built to fit an animal that cannot stop moving through a world that never pauses. Elephants communicate in a channel most people miss entirely. Their low-frequency rumbles can include infrasonic components below typical human hearing. These sounds travel through air and also through the ground as vibrations. Elephants can detect those vibrations through sensitive structures in the feet and trunk. Over long distances, that low-frequency channel can keep herds connected across landscapes where higher-pitched sounds fade and where staying in contact can mean safety. Under a reef ledge, a mantis shrimp turns speed into a weapon. In smashing species, a specialized club like appendage snaps forward with extreme acceleration to break hard prey like snails and crabs. The strike can be so fast it creates cavitation, forming a bubble in water that collapses. Almost instantly, that collapse produces a shock effect that adds damage on top of the physical impact. In a reef full of armored animals, this is a predator designed to crack protection open. Cuttlefish take the opposite approach because their best weapon is disappearance. Their skin contains pigment cells that expand and contract, plus reflective layers that adjust brightness. Then they add something most people do not expect. They can raise muscular bumps called papillae to change the texture of the skin, making the body look like rock or coral. In seconds, a cuttlefish can melt into the seafloor, then flash bold patterns during courtship or confrontation without changing location. A jellyfish with the nickname Immortal forces you to rethink what aging even means. Turritopsis dohrnii can, under severe stress such as injury or starvation, reverse from its adult medusa form back into an earlier polyp stage. This is not just shrinking. It involves transdifferentiation, where cells change identity and rebuild an earlier body plan. It is still killable by predators, disease, and damage, but its life cycle can run backward when conditions demand it. Winter can erase oxygen and movement, and the wood frog answers by letting its body freeze. Ice forms mainly outside cells first, which reduces lethal damage inside the cells. The frog floods tissues with cryoprotectants, especially glucose, which helps stabilize cells during the freezing period. Metabolism drops to extremely low levels. Breathing can stop, the heart can stop. When temperatures rise, the frog thaws and resumes activity. It is controlled freezing as a seasonal survival strategy. On Antarctic ice, Emperor penguins dive into water that punishes any warm body. They store oxygen efficiently in blood and muscles, with high myoglobin levels in muscle tissue. During a dive, heart rate slows and blood flow is prioritized to essential organs. They can dive hundreds of meters and stay underwater for many minutes, then return to the surface through openings in ice that shift and refreeze. In that environment, endurance is not impressive. It is required. A peregrine falcon does not chase prey in the sky so much as intercept it with physics. In a hunting dive, it streamlines the body, tucks wings, and controls direction with fine adjustments. At extreme speeds, airflow becomes a problem, and peregrines have nasal structures that help manage pressure and airflow while diving. Their vision is sharp enough to track fast prey and correct course late in the descent, turning a fall into a guided strike. Hovering looks gentle until you understand the cost. A hummingbird can hold position in front of a flower because its shoulder joint allows the wing to rotate and generate lift on both the downstroke and upstroke. The wing sweeps in a figure-8 pattern, producing continuous lift. That flight is fuel-hungry, so hummingbirds feed frequently. Many species use torpor at night, dropping body temperature and heart rate to conserve energy when feeding is impossible. An owl hunts without giving the game away. Its eyes face forward and are optimized for low light, but they do not move much in the sockets. Instead, owls rotate the head widely. Specialized neck anatomy and blood vessel arrangements help keep circulation stable during extreme rotation. That lets an owl scan a wide area while keeping the body still. And in hunting, stillness can be the difference between a meal and a missed chance. When birds migrate, they are not just following landmarks. Many species use Earth's magnetic field as part of a navigation toolkit. Evidence from experiments with species like robins shows magnetic orientation that helps maintain direction. They combine this with sun position, star patterns, and learn geography. That is how a small animal can cross regions it has never seen and still stay on course. Sea turtles turn the ocean into a map. Hatchlings enter the sea with no experience, yet many populations return years later to the same nesting regions. Magnetic cues are part of that guidance, with turtles able to use field intensity and inclination like rough coordinates. As they approach shore, additional cues such as smell and local geography help refine the route. It is long-distance navigation running on senses humans do not naturally have. Salmon return with a different tool. Smell. Juveniles imprint on the chemical signature of their home waters. Years later, adults follow scent trails back into river systems, fighting currents and obstacles as they move upstream, meaning the return is the final chapter of a life spent building toward one destination. Desert survival often looks like endurance, but it is really accounting. Kangaroo rats gain most of their water from seeds and conserve it aggressively. Their kidneys produce very concentrated urine to reduce losses. Their nasal passages help reclaim water vapor from exhaled air. They avoid heat by staying in burrows during the day and foraging at night. In a dry habitat, behavior and physiology work together like a water budget. Camels do not carry water in their humps, they carry fat. That fat is an energy reserve that can be metabolized when food is scarce. Camels tolerate dehydration better than most mammals and can drink large volumes quickly when water appears. They also allow body temperature to rise and fall more than humans do, reducing the need to sweat during peak heat and conserving water. Cold water steals heat quickly, and sea otters fight back with fur. Their coat is exceptionally dense and traps a layer of air against the skin, creating insulation. The air layer only works if the fur remains clean and aligned. Historically, a beaver solves its problem by changing the world around it. Dams slow water, create ponds, raise local water tables, and form wetlands. And they store water that can reduce extremes of drought and flooding. A beaver does not just live in an ecosystem, it remodels one. For a giraffe, gravity never stops being relevant. The brain is far above the heart, so giraffes maintain very high blood pressure and have powerful hearts to push blood upward. They also manage pressure changes when lowering the head to drink, reducing the risk of blood rushing into the skull. Their legs deal with blood pooling, and tissues help keep circulation working from hoof to head. Underground life rewrites the rules of mammal society. Naked mole rats live in colonies where one breeding female produces most offspring, while others work, defend, and maintain tunnels. They tolerate low oxygen environments better than many mammals, which matters in crowded burrows. Their social structure reduces competition underground and turns survival into a group project. Axolotls look like they never finished growing up, and that is the point. They retain juvenile features such as external gills into adulthood, a form of neoteny. They are also famous for regeneration, able to regrow limbs and repair complex tissues with surprising accuracy. Instead of scar tissue sealing the damage permanently, regeneration rebuilds structure in ways that scientists study closely for clues about healing. At night, some snakes hunt with heat, not sight. Pit vipers have heat-sensing pits that detect infrared radiation, creating a temperature-based image of the environment. Warm-blooded prey stands out against cooler backgrounds, making movement visible in darkness. The snake integrates this thermal information with other senses to strike accurately when ordinary vision is limited. Komodo dragons are not built for long chases. They are built for impact and follow-through. Their bite can introduce compounds that impair clotting and lower blood pressure, causing heavy bleeding and shock. They also track using chemical cues, sampling the air with a forked tongue. Injury, weakening, and tracking become one strategy shaped for a predator that does not need speed to be effective. In murky water, sharks read a signal prey cannot hide. The ampullae of Lorenzini are gel-filled sensory organs that detect tiny electrical fields produced by muscle and nerve activity. This helps sharks locate prey buried under sand or hidden by low visibility. Even a still animal gives off an electrical signature as long as it is alive. Clownfish live in social hierarchies that can change bodies. They start life male. In a group, the largest fish is female, the next largest is the breeding male, and the rest are smaller males. If the female dies, the breeding male can change sex and become female, and a smaller male becomes the breeding male. Seahorses flip the usual mammal-centered expectation about pregnancy. Females deposit eggs into a brood pouch on the male. Fertilization occurs there, and the male regulates conditions inside the pouch, including salinity and protection. When development is complete, he gives birth, releasing many fully formed miniature seahorses into the water. Narwhals carry their most famous feature in the mouth, not on the head. The tusk is an elongated tooth, usually the left canine, that grows through the upper lip. It contains nerves and structures consistent with sensory capacity, and it is involved in social behavior. In Arctic water, where visibility is limited, a tooth can become both sensor and signal. Albatrosses treat the ocean wind like fuel. With long wings built for gliding, they use dynamic soaring, harvesting energy from wind, gradients above waves, and traveling vast distances with minimal flapping. This efficiency matters because food can be scattered across enormous areas. Whales make darkness usable with sound. Toothed whales use echolocation clicks that bounce off prey and objects, turning the water into an acoustic map. Baleen whales use low-frequency calls that can travel long distances for communication. In a medium where light fades quickly with depth, sound becomes the primary way to locate, coordinate, and survive. Orcas take intelligence and add tradition. Different populations have distinct diets, hunting techniques, and vocal dialects. Some specialize in fish, others in marine mammals, and young orcas learn techniques by observing and participating. When a hunting strategy is passed through family groups over time, it starts to resemble culture, because knowledge becomes inherited behavior, not just instinct. Eels live between worlds. Some species move between freshwater and saltwater, adjusting physiology to handle changes in salinity. That involves tight control of water and ion balance through gills and kidneys. The migration itself can be long, and the internal shift is essential, because the chemistry of living in the ocean is not the chemistry of living in a river. Homing pigeons are often dismissed as ordinary until you test them. They combine multiple navigation cues, including sun position, magnetic information, and learned landmarks. Released far from home, they can return from unfamiliar areas with accuracy that reflects a layered navigation system rather than a single trick. Tool use is rare in animals, which is why it stands out when it appears in dolphins. Some bottlenose dolphins have been observed carrying marine sponges on the snout while foraging. The sponge protects the rostrum from abrasion and stings while probing the seafloor for hidden prey. That is not a reflex. It is a learned method used in specific groups and passed along socially. Deep sea fish live under pressure that would crush most bodies. Many reduce or eliminate gas-filled spaces and rely on tissues adapted to function at high pressure. Metabolism tends to be slow because food is scarce. Survival down there is often about patience and efficiency, not speed. Reindeer see a winter landscape differently than we do. Research suggests they can detect ultraviolet light better than humans. Snow reflects ultraviolet strongly, while lichens and some other materials appear darker in UV, increasing contrast. That contrast can help locate food and potentially spot movement when the visible world looks flat and glare-filled. Polar bears look bright against snow, but their insulation is the real story. Their fur appears white because it scatters light, and the hairs are translucent. Beneath, the skin is dark, which can absorb solar energy. A thick fat layer provides insulation. Yet even in the Arctic, polar bears can overheat during hard exertion. Cheetahs live on the edge of overheating because their hunting is built around acceleration. A flexible spine lengthens stride. A long tail stabilizes turns. Claws provide traction, but top speed can only be maintained briefly, and the heat generated can force a cheetah to stop and recover. In the wild, a failed chase is not just a missed meal, it is a costly mistake. Wolves succeed by coordination. Packs use posture, scent, and vocalizations to maintain contact and organize movement. During hunts, they can test prey, isolate weaker individuals, and share the work of a chase. Cooperation reduces risk and increases success, especially in winter when prey is harder to catch and calories matter more. Snow leopards move through steep mountains as if gravity is negotiable. Their long tails help balance on narrow ledges and also provide warmth when wrapped around the body. Wide, fur-covered paws spread weight like natural snowshoes. Their coat pattern breaks up their outline against rock and snow. In mountain hunting, slipping is deadly, and being seen too early ends the hunt, so balance and camouflage are life-saving traits. Bar-headed geese migrate at altitudes that challenge basic biology. They fly over the Himalayas where oxygen is far lower than at sea level. Their bodies support efficient oxygen uptake and delivery, and they time flights to take advantage of conditions that reduce energy cost. The result is a migration that pushes a vertebrate body close to its limits. Crocodilians can wait longer than most predators can afford to. They can remain submerged for extended periods by slowing metabolism and managing oxygen use. They also have powerful jaws designed for gripping and crushing. In ambush hunting, the body is built for one moment of explosive force after long stillness. Some animals survive by building a weapon out of their own voice. Humpback whales produce complex songs that can change over time and spread through populations. The songs are linked to social behavior, and in breeding regions, the soundscape becomes part of how whales interact. In the ocean, communication is not decoration, it is structure. A bat does not need light to hunt because it creates a map from echoes. Echolocation calls bounce off insects, leaves, and surfaces, returning information about distance and shape. Different bat species use different call patterns depending on habitat. In cluttered forests, calls can be rapid and detailed. In open spaces, they can travel farther. Sound becomes vision. Sperm whales take that idea into extreme depth. They dive into dark water and use powerful clicks for echolocation to locate prey such as squid. Their bodies manage oxygen carefully for long dives, and their physiology supports function under pressure that would crush most divers. When a sperm whale surfaces, after a deep hunt, it is returning from a zone where humans can barely survive. The platypus is a mammal that hunts like a sensor array. While diving, it often closes eyes, ears, and nostrils, relying on electroreceptors in the bill to detect tiny electrical signals from prey muscles. Touch receptors add information about movement in water. In silty rivers where vision fails, the bill allows precise hunting without sight. Even without dramatic weapons, schooling fish show a kind of coordination that looks rehearsed. Many use the lateral line system, a line of sensory organs along the body that detects pressure changes and water movement. That allows tight synchronized turns, helps avoid predators, and improves awareness in murky water. In water, movement leaves a trail, and fish are built to read it. Some animals carry their own climate control. Penguins and other seabirds often have specialized feather structures that trap air for insulation and waterproofing. The way feathers overlap and the oils they maintain keep cold water from reaching skin, allowing long periods in harsh marine environments. For a bird that lives at sea, feathers are not just for flight, they are survival gear. When you watch a sea turtle breathe at the surface and then disappear for a long dive, you are seeing a body designed for oxygen management. Many turtles can slow heart rate during dives and allocate oxygen to critical organs. That helps them stay submerged while searching for food and avoids waste in a medium where every surfacing can be risky. Out in the coldest parts of the world, the Arctic fox solves winter with built-in engineering. Its fur is one of the warmest coats among mammals, with dense underfur that traps air and reduces heat loss even in extreme wind. The fox also has short ears, a short muzzle, and compact legs, which reduces surface area where heat can escape. The paws are fur-covered too, giving traction on ice and insulation from frozen ground. Even its metabolism and behavior support the design. When food is scarce, Arctic foxes can follow polar bears to scavenge leftovers, cache surplus food when prey is abundant, and survive long periods when hunting is difficult. In a landscape where exposed skin can freeze quickly, the Arctic fox is shaped to keep heat in and keep moving. Step back and the pattern becomes clear. The animal world is full of solutions that look strange only because we are not the ones living those problems. 3 hearts that make sprinting costly, sleep that stays half awake, a tooth that becomes a sensor, a body that freezes and returns. Once you see the mechanisms, the impossible starts to feel like the most logical thing nature could do. Thank you for watching and stay curious. Feel free to support this channel by subscribing and liking this video.